Hello, everyone. Thank you for stopping by and joining this Equity in Practice session. And I want to wish everyone and acknowledge Arab American Heritage Month. So happy Arab American Heritage Month to everyone. My name is Kyle, and I serve as Director of Culture and Community Engagement here with the School District's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And I'm very grateful for you taking the time to join this session. So this month is Arab American Heritage Month, and is a perfect time to celebrate Arab American community, heritage and culture, and also uplift students, staff, and community members as well. So in this session, we'll have a community conversation with Mr. Marwan Kredie, and we'll have a conversation that touches on mentorship, different Arab American traditions in the community as a whole. So I just want to pass it on to Marwan to introduce himself and tell us a little bit more. We can jump into the conversation.
Okay, my name is Marwan Kredie. I've been in Philadelphia. I mean, we live in Northern Liberties. I've had my house now for 21 plus years. I mean, it's basically I could afford it then, couldn't afford it now. You know how things have changed here in our city. And I really am very grateful to be on this program. All my three kids went through the Philadelphia School District. They all graduated, and they enjoyed their times graduating from Central, and the boy from Central, the two girls from SLA. So we're very happy to have this, and I'm glad you're looking at our community as what I would say a mosaic, what makes our city great.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate that. And so I want to jump right in, Marwan. So I know you've been a huge advocate in the city, especially also for the Arab American community. So I want to jump in and just ask this: how has your identity as an Arab American shaped your personal values, your traditions, but also the work that you do today?
Well, our family, although I was born in the United States, we moved to Beirut when I was a young child, and we stayed there until the Civil War, and we left there. So I know what it is, even though I'm not an immigrant, I know what it is to feel like an immigrant. I know, even though we weren't really refugees because we had citizenship, I know how it feels to be a refugee, having to leave your home within 2 hour notice. And I know that now a lot of our students in our school district are facing these same challenges. So in one way, that's important. The other thing, I also come from a history and a culture and a community that in a lot of American discussions has been pillarized and disbased. We're not all terrorists. We have a culture, and in that way, we're not unique. I mean, I think that we have to look at all the other communities that make up our city and realize that they all have a valuable and important culture and history, which should be celebrated, none over the other, all as equal parts. And I like to use the word mosaic. I mean, that's a very traditional Arabic art form, so I'll take credit for that. But a mosaic looks better with all different colors and hues and traditions together. So that's what our community is, and I think that is the way I look at Philadelphia and the importance of our community, again, being one of the many.
Nice, nice. Thank you for that. I want to move on to a different question. Just hopefully, well, see if you can share just some key aspects of Arab American culture. So I know with our office and us putting this on YouTube and different folks joining may not be as familiar. So if you could share like just key aspects to Arab American culture, traditions, and just things in general that you feel as though it's important for others to know.
Well, first, important to know is that a lot of people think we're all Muslim, and Muslim is an important religion, and I cherish the fact that the city has now taken the Muslim holidays as school holidays, but we have a large Christian population as well, and I think that shows that we have that tradition of tolerance and acceptance. The other thing about the Arab culture I think is very interesting is that we come with all hues of color. I mean, I look like, a little white boy, but Arabs could be everything from, really dark Sudanese who consider themselves Arabs to blonde, blue-eyed Lebanese, and everything in between. And again, while all cultures have their positives and negatives, one thing that I've seen in our culture is that we don't have the color issue, which is something I think is really important. If you go to a country like Morocco or Egypt, um, you see vast differences in the way people's outward appearance are.
No, I really
So,
appreciate that.
yeah.
Diversity is definitely key.
Mhm.
So I appreciate you highlighting that. Another question that I want to move to and ask, I think it's a very important one, and I think you're a great person to ask. So, how important is it for young Arab Americans to see representation in public service, such as education and
Mhm.
and just leadership in general across the board?
Well, we've been urging our community to get jobs as teachers. In fact, my brother just retired from Lincoln High School. So it's important for him just to be in the classroom. And as you know, it's important for us and every community to have representatives. Not that they're better or worse. It's just that those are you look up to someone like that. And we know the issues of not having enough black male teachers. It's also important to have Arab American teachers, women, and so forth. And especially our community gets, at one point we were looked on as terrorists and things like that. We got to realize that again, we have a proud, long culture, great tradition. And by the way, Kyle, and I'm inviting you, we have a great food tradition. And if you're ever interested, you can be my guest at an Arab American restaurant. Just so again, we have again, all cultures do. I mean, I'd love going to Haitian restaurants and Honduran restaurants, but I think that our food stands equal. I would say a little better, but
No, wonderful food for sure. I could definitely attest to that, and I appreciate that answer.
well,
So
the other thing I think is the history. I mean, if you look at a lot of the important scientific and mathematical issues, algebra, Arabic created, right? The number zero was an Arab creation. So those were not uh, creations, inventions. And a lot of the great books that we read in our school, the Greek classics, would have been lost had it not been for the Arab world who took those books in and copied them, and then later on they went to Europe and helped with the Renaissance. So again, those are really important things, and that's one of the reasons I think education is really valued in our community.
100%, 100%. I really appreciate that answer. So Marwan, you've been an advocate
Mhm.
and a great leader in the community, but you're also a professor and an educator yourself. Um, why, answer this. Why is it important for Arab American students, but not just students, community members and staff across the board, to have a safe space to connect with each other in spaces like on campuses, just in the community, at the job, or whatever the case may be. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, listen, if you're not taken seriously, you lose your voice. And your voice is what makes a classroom special, right? We want to hear, and as an educator, I want to hear from every one of my students. I don't care what their skin color is, what their cultural background is. They all add something special. And that's why I think it's important, especially for some communities who are pillared and mocked in a lot of American media, to stand up for who they are and what they are, because by doing that, you help everybody else in the classroom and education in general. So we need that voice of everybody. And that's what I urge my fellow students and my Arab American friends and family. I'm like, your voice is important. Make sure it's heard.
100%. I appreciate that as well. So I mean, I think you touched on this a little bit in your previous answer, but I wonder if we could flush this out as well. So, what role can education play in fostering a better understanding and appreciation for Arab American heritage?
Again, what students are seeing and the type of people, other Arab Americans that uh, they're they have access to, uh, distinguishes, I mean, extinguishes in a lot of ways prejudice. I mean, how can you uh, make fun of people's culture if you know them and if you see them? They're not terrorists. They're great people, right? They're not great people. They're just regular people. They're not any better or any worse than anyone else. So once you start that relationship building, right? And it can happen in a classroom, it can happen with mentorship, you realize that those things you hear on TV about terrorism and so forth, um, yes, they're bad people in the world, but that kid who's sitting next to you uh, is a decent guy or a decent woman, and we need to respect them and interact with them. We don't, you know, we can't, I think, you can't discriminate against someone if you eat their food and live their lives with you. You realize that their culture is just as valuable. Their history, their inner selves are just as valuable as anyone else. Not better, not worse.
100%. I appreciate that as well. So I have another question, and this is more on the advice side.
Mhm,
So what advice would you give to schools, community members, that they want to celebrate Arab American Heritage
mhm.
Month? They want to bring and highlight Arab American Heritage Month and Arab American culture, but they want to do it in a respectful and an accurate way. What advice would you give to them to be successful?
Let the students organize it and the events. Let the students have input. And then bring their parents in. Unfortunately or unfortunately, a lot of the newer immigrants, their English may not be uh, up to par. They may not be fluent in English, and the parents may feel kind of embarrassed to come to class. Um, you need to bring them in. We need to enhance the parents' involvement in especially in the younger kids. Get the kids to come in, have them bring their parents in, and do it in such a way as the parents feel safe. Does that mean bringing a translator in? That might be what one has to do. Does it mean having some of the teachers go to a mosque or a church to learn the specifics, issues that their religion may have, and so forth? So again, total communication, but respectful. And again, let the students organize it. That's what I would do. And they'll love to bring food in. Everybody, I mean, ask them to bring food. They'll bring their their mother's cooking.
Nice, totally agree. Totally agree. So I this is I think this may be like one of my last two questions. How important is mentorship in the Arab American community? And how does it support the growth of not just students,
Mhm.
but adults and everyone within the city?
So mentorship is vital. I mean, we have issues where there may not be uh, one parent or two parents in the household to emulate. They may be in communities where their parents work, two jobs, three jobs. We have that in our city. We need the students to have mentors who are their parents, but also other people who look like them, who act like them, who are able to say, "Hey, I became a doctor, or I became a steel worker, or I became a plumber." And let them look at those career options and say, hey, this is what I may want to do. I mean, everything from, again, the trades to becoming, a physician or whatever, an engineer. Those are all things they can pursue if that's what they're inclined to do. But if they don't see anybody that looks like them, acts like them, speaks like them in those positions, they won't know that those career options are available for them.
I appreciate that. So I want to move to I want to ask this question as well. For those that want to learn more about Arab American culture, history, what are some resources, organizations that you would recommend, literature
Mhm.
that you would recommend to be successful in just learning more about Arab American culture, history, and traditions?
Sure. First, the organization I have, the Philadelphia Arab American Development Corp. They're welcome to go. Our website's currently being redone, but that's one of the avenues. The other one is there's a group called Al Bustan Seeds of Culture. Um, they're located in South Kensington, and they're a delightful group that works um, with the arts, basically the arts in the Arab world. They have summer camps. They work with a couple schools in that area. So I would urge people to do that. They're also the Middle East Center at the University of Penn, and there's a lot of information we can get. I mean, a lot of people like the writings of Khalil Gibran, for example. Those are things you could start with. There's some great movies out these days. One of them actually won an Oscar, a documentary called No Other Land. Good way to look at the Palestinian experience. Winning an Oscar is a pretty big deal for the best foreign documentary. So those are many things that they can do, and I would urge them to start, doing a little research and working on those things.
I love that. I love that. Marwan, I said that was my last two, but if I may, I'm gonna ask one more.
Of course.
Um, what inspired you to found and operate the Arab American Development Corporation? What inspired that work?
Well, it first happened. It was um, shortly after 9/11, and we saw the increase in discrimination against people in our community. And we said, we need a place where people can go. And we have been there since then, spending a lot of time with newer immigrants, refugees, and so forth. And also, we need to, as Americans, uphold each other's rights. So we do a lot of work on know your rights, and we're getting a workout these days, as you may uh, understand. So that's why we did it, and we're a small group. We only have 1.5 people working there, but we're available to help. So please,
Great, great. Marwan, I really appreciate the
of
time
course.
and appreciate the conversation. And I think you gave a lot of great insight. So very grateful.
Kyle, it's a pleasure, and I urge you get to know your Arabic neighbors. They may be a little shy. Again, a lot of immigrants come to the country and they're worried about will they be accepted by their neighbors. Well, go make sure they're accepted. That's what I would urge you to do. And if there's a new kid in your class who's a refugee, help that person become part of the community, the greater community. I urge everyone in the Philadelphia School District to do that, and I wish them all the best. Thank you,
Thank you for
Kyle.
that. Really appreciate it.
All right.